Friday is finally here, and there is no better place to celebrate than the 12th Today After Show. Hey there, Elston. Hey there, Cindy. They don't want to be on TV. I don't understand it. It's Paul Gerke talking alongside Vanessa Ramirez. You can see us in the monitor. You can see us on the couch. We've saved a seat for Jen Wall, who's setting up her weather graphics right now. We want to talk Hurricane Florence with you guys. If you have any questions for Jen, get them in. We've been monitoring the storm all morning long. It made landfall. Hey, good morning, Jen.
Hey, guys.
Made landfall at about 4:15 our time this morning in Wilmington, or near Wilmington, rather, in North Carolina. You're looking at the radar right now. Want to say hi to everybody joining us live real quick. Shout out to Judy, to Virginia, Amy, Demetrios, Kristen, Mike, Sylvia, Serena, Joseph, Candace, Dara, even Eric Watson working our desk right now is popping in.
Oh, that's a handful of people. Good stuff.
I think he just shows up to let us know that the stream is working.
He's like, hey, guys.
All right, Jen, I know that you've been tasked with this morning, and it's been a real pain sometimes. The good news is that the storm isn't moving all that quickly, right?
Yeah, right, I wish. No, it's going to be very slowly, unfortunately, and as it does that, you can see on the screen right there, it just drops immense amounts of rain, anywhere up to about 14 inches, 40 inches, depending upon where you are. And the backside of the storm is packing the biggest punch. We've been hearing Jay Gray say that throughout the morning, and that's just because of the way the rotation is inside of the storm. You have the eye, which has really dissipated over the last hour or so. You could really make out that strong eye throughout the last few hours, and right now you can barely see anything. But the worst is not over yet. The north and west side of the storm could have some of the heaviest amounts of rain. Storm surge expected to peak around 11:30 Eastern time in North Carolina. So right now it's 7:30. That's about an hour away our time here in Arizona. Those max wind speeds around 90 miles per hour with this Category 1 storm. So I've been keeping up with the National Hurricane Center there in the Atlantic to see if they've downgraded the storm yet, but it doesn't look like they have been able to do that quite yet. So we had some maroon on the screen about a half an hour ago. That precipitation rate was about 3 inches per hour. Just absolutely incredible.
That's crazy. That's more than we have all monsoon season right now in Arizona. We're under 3 inches for the year.
Oh, we need it so bad. So this hurricane did make landfall at Wrightsville Beach just a few hours ago, early this morning. That's about 7:15 a.m. Eastern time. That according to the National Hurricane Center. And so these pictures and videos that are coming in are just absolutely incredible. I mean, there you have the gas station, that awning blown over. And when you're talking a Category 1 hurricane, you might be wondering, what kind of damage can you have from that, right? So you're looking at tree limbs coming down. You're looking at structures like awnings coming down. We know that in the south there are a lot of mobile homes. Those are just completely dissipated. We saw that here during monsoon. And so I know I've also been reading that about 500,000 people are without power. Oh, no. Plus the governor saying that they're going to go out and conduct rescues right now.
Look at that picture on the bottom there, the third one from the left. That water is as high as the window on that house.
That is just...
I mean, you figure that's at least 6 feet off the ground, and that's the storm surge that everyone's worried about. We've heard from the outset with this storm, the wind speed, although this is pretty ugly wind speed right here, tearing this flag to shreds. This was on a live stream. We showed it to you this morning. They since replaced the flag, by the way. There's a new one that's going to be torn up today, probably.
Yeah.
The wind speed's not as much of an issue as the storm surge. Storm surge is actually the leading cause of fatalities when it comes to tropical cyclones. The good news is, and I talked about this in my extra point a little earlier on 12 today, and I'm going to post that to Facebook as soon as we get done with this show. We didn't see any storm surge deaths in the United States last year. That's despite the fact that 4 different Category 3 hurricanes made landfall in the U.S. It's because of the warning systems that they have out now. The coverage that we've been getting for this storm has just been absolutely outstanding, and millions were told to evacuate well in advance, days in advance. Yeah. And so you're hoping that most of these people were able to get out of harm's way.
Sure.
We were talking to Jay Gray on 12 Today a little earlier in the show on 12 News, and he said that there were no casualties, no fatalities reported yet, which is all good news. Granted, the storm has only been on land for 3 hours now, so that may change. But the good news is it looks like the people out there have heeded those warnings and have gotten themselves out of harm's way, Jen.
Yeah, and I believe there are reports coming out of New Bern, North Carolina, where a lot of people are stranded because of the storm surge. So I know thousands of people did leave, but there are always the diehards that do stay at home. And so you can see these first responders here on the ground now working on some of those rescues. And we even have some first responders from the Phoenix area there. We have several firefighters, some police officers, they have canine dogs, they have boats, they said, which isn't very typical. And you think, coming from the desert,
yeah, what are you going to do with the boat out here? Yeah.
Right. We are so highly trained out here. So kudos to those guys, because they're going to the East Coast dealing with feet and feet of flooding to help rescue these people who need it. I mean, you can see there by all of the water, just absolutely incredible. And you know, this isn't going to end. This is going to continue throughout the weekend as the storm moves to the west. And as it does that, it will weaken because you don't have those warm Pacific waters, one of the main ingredients they need to keep hurricanes going. So as it moves over land, it will weaken, as we typically see, but that doesn't mean we're not going to not have rain.
Vanessa,
flooding.
what are some of the viewers saying in the comment section?
So Candace wrote in saying, my nephew and his family are in Dunn, North Carolina, and for personal reasons were not able to evacuate. So there's some people that weren't able to leave, and just like them. So now so if they weren't able to leave and then they get in the situation, are they the ones being rescued as well?
We were talking earlier about those in New Bern. There were hundreds of people that were asking for help evacuating, and they were going to try to rescue them immediately. But the problem is, once those winds pick up, it's really tough to get like a helicopter down there. If you have sustained wind gusts of 90 miles per hour, you can't fly in that. So you pretty much just have to wait until the storm calms down a little bit, which is another thing we saw in the live shots with Jay Gray this morning. As those bands move through, you get these pauses, these like kind of moments of eerie calmness where the storm is full bore and then there's absolutely nothing, and it looks so beautiful and peaceful out there. You wouldn't think you were just outside the eye of a hurricane.
Right. And the city of New Bern, just to add on that, is putting out on Twitter they have about 150 awaiting rescue in their city. They have 2 out-of-state FEMA teams there for swift water rescue. More are on the way to help. It says, we're coming to get you, in all caps. You may need to move to the 2nd story or to your attic, but we are coming to get you. That is just so unnerving to think there's people right now waiting for that rescue.
We're getting viewers from all over the world right now. I
yes.
just want to give a couple shout outs. Tomas in Tucson, Daniel here in Arizona watching. Serena says she gets up at 4:30 to watch us every day.
Oh,
hey,
thank you.
Bless you and your early alarms, Serena rather. Kathy from Huntsville, Texas. And we got people in Indiana, Kim out in Indiana, Stephanie out in Barcelona, Spain.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we have Rhonda from Australia.
Down under night.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you probably had a better breakfast in Barcelona than we had here in the studio here in Arizona. You're looking right here at some video of those first responders. We're already seeing rescues, which is so crazy to me, considering that this storm has only been on land for 3 hours and 20 minutes or so, you know?
This is going on right now. This is live.
So you can see this man is being very slowly lifted into this truck. Not exactly sure which emergency responders these are that are helping him, but get out of his home, get to safety. I mean, when you're dealing with storm surge, it is just so dangerous. Again, 6 to 11 feet, maybe even up to 14 feet. Storm surge is also known as storm flooding. If you're not familiar, I know we don't really deal with that here in Arizona. So you might be kind of going, what is that? Well, it is a storm tide, it's a coastal flood, or even a tsunami-like phenomenon of rising water. So just imagine that. Look at those waves crashing in. We were talking to Jay Gray this morning, and he said he had to go to the several stories up on a concrete structured building to make sure that he was safe. And in our weather maps, we're able to see all of the areas that are at risk for this storm surge. It's not just the coastal areas, it's also the riverbanks. And so those will be the places inland too that we could see many more rescues, just like we watched live with that man right there.
We're starting to get some questions here, and if you have any, go ahead and pop into the comment section right now. Vanessa, do you want to field one?
So Bonita Thomas says, what's going on in Wilmington, North Carolina right now?
Now, Wilmington, it's about right where the eye is, isn't it? Because it kind of worked in from the beach there?
Yeah, so Wilmington was one of the areas that was hit very early on, and basically all we know is they sustained those wind speeds of about 90 miles per hour, 20 to 40 inches of rain potentially. We're waiting on the National Hurricane Center, the National Weather Service. It takes them a while to release those initial reports. They have storm spotters around. You know that with monsoon here, but these people are also dealing with extremely dangerous situations, so they have to be very careful when they're going in to get those numbers. hours. You can see the track of the hurricane here. I can kind of rewind this, I think, if I push the back button. There we go.
You see Wilmington up at the top there.
Yeah, okay. So the good news is Wilmington is getting lighter rain right now. That's the green. But as the storm continues to move off to the west, that backside of the storm could dump even more rain onto them.
We have another question from Candace. She said, will South Carolina be affected? I have several family members there.
Yeah, so South Carolina is expected to be affected throughout the weekend. They could definitely deal with some flooding, probably not as much as these coastal areas, but could still get significant rain. And the good news is here, they're able to watch this storm move very slowly, so they do have some time to act. Even though it's terrible for North Carolina, it's moving so slowly they can go, okay, this is where it is now. This is how the rain is looking. This is how it's starting to slow down, and then they can make their plans.
And the storm still has a southward track right now, so it is headed down the Carolina coast now that it's moved, toward the land. But so South Carolina is definitely in the mix. We had a question from Peggy here. It says she has family in both Carolinas. Any report on Morehead City, North Carolina? Do you know where Morehead City is by any chance?
I could look it up.
Yeah, Peggy, if you know exactly where Morehead City is, it can give us a general idea geographically within North Carolina. That would be helpful, or we can look it up here in a second.
Yeah.
So Liam also asked,
Mills as well.
Is everyone okay? And we reported on this a moment ago.
Yeah, Liam, thanks for joining the stream. Just a second ago, we were talking to Jay Gray as we got off the air on 12 today on the actual TV station, not on Facebook. And he was saying at this hour, no reports of any injuries or deaths yet. That may change within, the next few hours. We're talking about over 100 people that are awaiting rescue right now. So obviously a pretty tenuous situation there. You guys are sending prayers from all over the place, from Tucson, from Telluride, Colorado, from the Navajo Nation, from Prescott. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining us here. If you have any questions, just jump into the comment section here. We'll try to give you the best answers that we can. We've been receiving so much positive feedback about the coverage today.
Yeah.
And we received some negative stuff yesterday from viewers that think it's a little bit of overkill and that we're trying to drum up people to be scared. Well, we do want you to be scared a little bit because it could be a very dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And if you're scared, maybe you'll get yourself to safety, or at least, send a text or a call to some loved ones that you've got out in the East Coast and let them know, hey, this is some pretty serious business. So how long, Jen, do you think that the areas that are being affected right now, in Wilmington, around the beach areas, the coastal areas, how long is this storm just going to sit there?
Well, this area is going to be hit for the next 24 hours or so. And then, by tomorrow at around 2 in the afternoon, that's when we saw, if we can pull up the weather graphic, we can get that track and then I can show you exactly what it is expected to do. So there you go. Category 1 hurricane here for the next little while as it continues to move off to the west. Very slight southerly track. It's more of a westerly track.
Okay.
And as it does that, it'll continue to dissipate, but it's still going to move very slow. So if you think 6 miles per hour, that's how fast it's moving.
And almost 4 inches of rain per hour, right?
Yeah,
so do the math.
Depending upon the area, yes. And then it's moving to the west, and it still has hundreds of miles to go. So definitely throughout the day today, it looks like by Friday night, wind speeds are down to about 75 miles per hour. Still dropping a lot of rain, though. Still a Category 1 hurricane, and again, we'll keep in touch with the National Weather Service. So I looked up that city you were asking about. Was it Morehead City?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So that's about 2 hours northeast of where the eye of the hurricane hit. So they're still getting rain. I don't know exactly how much right now because, they don't do the local weather for Morehead City. Unfortunately, I don't have access to that information, but I'm sure the National Weather Service will be releasing that very soon, and I can check in with them and let you know if I see any updates.
If it's northeast of Raleigh there, it looks like, now granted, not safe by any stretch of the imagination, but not in the direct path or the trajectory of where that hurricane is headed right now. Although we were talking to Jimmy Q yesterday on this very same couch, he was saying that generally the northeastern part of these storms tends to be the most dangerous. So definitely, if you have loved ones out there in that part of the country, let them know to be safe. We actually have a viewer, Fran, who is watching from North Carolina right now.
Yeah.
Fran, I would invite you to hop into the comment section again and let us know what you're seeing and sort of relay your experience to our viewers right now. I'd love to get your firsthand report.
We got another question from Vicky. She says, how bad would Charlotte get? I have an aunt staying there in an RV park.
In Charlotte?
Yeah.
So according to the Washington Post, Morehead City did receive some damage, some collapsed roofs, and other structures were already reported, as well as in New Bern. So that's a little information for you there if you're able to check in on that.
New Bern looks the worst here on this quad graphic that we've got up right now. This was obviously shot a little earlier when it was still dark outside, so these aren't live pictures that you're looking at. But yeah, if you have any other questions in terms of locations, we'll try to get you the info. It's tough to sort of glean exactly, and we only have cameras in so many places, so it's kind of tough to tell exactly what's happening in every city along the way. But
sure.
I'm actually surprised to see how many of our viewers out here in Arizona have friends and family in that part of the country.
Yeah, I ran into some people at Santan Village actually a few days ago, and the lady was from South Carolina, and she was visiting Phoenix, and I said, wow, what a perfect time for you to visit. And she said, yeah, we are expecting some flooding, but we're more inland, and you know, we don't typically see this much rain as far inland as we are. So definitely a little different for some people out there.
Vanessa, what do we learn about escape routes in case we were ever caught in a hurricane?
That you shouldn't go into a bunker.
You want to go up.
Yes, you want to go up. But I did, because we talked about that yesterday,
Yes.
I did ask a few people randomly, right? My boss, one of my bosses at the D-backs and some other friends. And because we've never experienced this here in Arizona and we're all natives, we don't think about, you know, we were just like, I don't know, you go to a bunker to get safe. So at least I'm not the only one that was the first answer.
So we have an update on Charlotte right now. Danny, one of my meteorologist friends who's been tracking tropical storms in Florida for the last few years, saying that Charlotte could pick up between 7 to 10 inches between now and Monday. Danny just got certified as a meteorologist, by the way. Congrats.
That's awesome.
For the millionth time. You deserve it. And she's really good at this. So if she says 7 to 10 inches between now and Monday, I would trust that number for sure.
Eric's giving us some more information.
Yeah, it looks like Eric, who works, excuse me, at our assignment desk upstairs, is including some links right now for those of you that are asking comments that we're not able to answer succinctly. There's one right now about conditions in Wilmington as Hurricane Florence makes landfall. That link is posted, I think, 3 comments up right now. Julie says she lived in New Bern for 10 years. They still have a lot of friends out there. And many of them saying, what are they saying? Sorry, my comment won't load. They're saying this is the worst they've ever seen out there.
How scary.
That's what you're seeing on Twitter a lot. New Bern and Wilmington, strongest wind speed they've seen in decades. So this has been
We had a question about the Marine base, too. What about the Marine base? So we're going to have to find out and do some research.
Where is that Marine base at? That's Bev that asked that question. Where is the Marine base out there, Bev? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the geography.
So if you want to talk about Charlotte really quickly, the Charlotte Observer, we can get some information from them and share that with you in case you're not able to look at that. At the coast, it says, I just had it, 10 to 15 inches. There we go. Charlotte region is aligned to get 10 to 15 inches of rain, more than enough to cause flooding. The region has a better than 50% chance of seeing sustained tropical storm winds of 40 miles per hour or higher.
Jen, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but how quickly could this storm be downgraded again? Because it was a Category 3 and then a 2 and then it made landfall as a 1.
Yeah.
And what's the next step? What's the process?
So it'll go to a tropical storm, and then it'll go to a low pressure system.
Okay.
And then it'll just be a ton of rain and wind.
And that's all broken up by wind speed, right? Like the sustained wind speed is what separates a tropical storm from a Category 1.
So you look at the Saffir-Simpson wind scale. And so if you're wondering, you know, a Category 1 hurricane could get wind speeds up to about 95 miles per hour. With this storm, we've seen about 90 miles per hour on average for most places inland. I believe I was tracking some spots. Wilmington, I have a graphic for that if you guys want to pull it up, got about 87 mile per hour wind speeds. That was the highest that I saw this morning. So let's see, let me skip ahead for you. That's the storm surge map. If I just click ahead, sorry, sometimes the weather graphics, there we go, don't like to cooperate. So we're not getting a reading in New Bern right now. That could be because that particular station is down, maybe because of the storm, not exactly sure, but it looks like that whole area that was hit extremely hard, Jacksonville, no readings there either. But Wilmington right now at about 67 miles per hour. It looks like Cape Hatteras at about 43 miles per hour. So still pretty strong, but this is slower than we've seen a couple of hours ago. And you can see a lot of the trees just being blown around here. Those wind speeds still strong enough to break the trees. If you're here in Arizona, you know, we saw that with monsoon in East Mesa. It can also take down power lines. That's another concern. I know we have about 500,000 people without power. So not quite out of the woods yet. And you were wondering how quickly it could be downgraded.
Yeah, and Liam wants to know, what is a tropical storm by definition? So
a tropical storm is just, it's less than a hurricane. You don't have that very defined eye wall. You don't have those extremely strong wind speeds. Plus, you know, it can still cause damage. Don't get me wrong. We're still concerned about that. That's what's going to bring a lot of the rain. But we'll be watching later today for this to potentially get downgraded. And definitely, I would say
there's more live pictures.
Do we know where Swansboro, North Carolina is, Jen? You mind looking that up?
I don't, but I can.
Jolene Wiltz is asking about Swansboro. Says she has some family out there and wondering if they're flooding. She said she can't get a hold of them. Jolene, that may be because they're without power. As we mentioned a minute ago, about 500,000 people currently without power. And that could be the case for a couple days, especially since this storm is just going to linger for 24 to 36 hours before crews can get in there. Look at this. Look at the live lens wipe. It was funny, while you're looking this up, Jay Gray's live shots this morning on 12 Today, he was stationed on a balcony. All of the reporters are kind of hunkered down into this cement-poured concrete structure that's built to withstand gusts of up to 250 miles per hour. And Jay's live shot location was actually on the balcony inside of a room. They had a sliding glass door that was shut between his producers and his camera crew and him, and he's standing outside in the elements. I mean, the good news, I guess, is that you can go inside if things get a little too hairy out there. But I thought that was funny. I'd never seen a live shot taken through a glass door before. You got to make sure you have the Windex ready and able to wipe that off like these guys are right now.
So Barb sent us a message. She said she has friends traveling on the interstate out of the disaster areas, and they found areas to relocate at: rest areas, Walmart parking lots. She said it's packed with RVs, tents, anywhere people could find to sleep. So everybody's working together, she said.
That's great to hear.
No, it really does bring humanity together. I mean, that's the way these natural disasters work. Eric, our assignment desk operator upstairs, just posted a link to help people affected by Hurricane Florence as well, if you want to check that out. It's in the comment section right now. Did you find anything else out about that city? I don't even remember which one it was.
Swansboro. I'm looking. I'm not seeing anything specific, but... Yeah, what I can do is look at where it is on a map and then find maybe a larger city near there to see if there's any information about that.
So this is why we do this. Candace left a message saying thank you for keeping us updated on this storm. So it's not here affecting us, but like we said, a lot of our viewers and a lot of people on Facebook have family members in the area, and they want to know what's going on.
Well, and as we said, we have first responders from Arizona that are out there helping out with the disaster relief right now, and depending on how bad things get, we'll probably be sending more people out there. So it does impact us, even if the storm isn't centered over our state. Hey guys, we got to wrap this up and do a cut-in for the Today Show on 12 News. We appreciate you joining us here on the 12 Today After Show. We do the show at 7:30 on the 12 News Facebook page, Monday through Friday. So we're going to take the rest of the weekend off. We'll see you back here on Monday, though. We hope you have a great weekend and a safe weekend.
Yes.
T's and P's to everybody out there in the Carolinas right now. Hopefully that storm blows over and the worst of it is already through. Fingers crossed, guys. Thanks for joining us. Be good people.